Hey everyone. Are the Democrats going the way of the Whigs? Well, figuratively speaking, yes. Literally speaking, probably not. But certainly they have a lot of problems. And I've been watching since the end of the election here, and you would expect there would be a major shakeup in the Democratic Party. But they act as if they're oblivious to what has just happened to them. It's like they don't understand it. They think it was a fluke. They think the Russians intervened and somehow tapped into the electronic voting system, which is not even connected to the internet. So I'm not really sure what their evidence is for that. I don't think they have any, and I don't think we'll see any. But when you look at the Democrats and the situation they're in right now, it's not that they were just defeated in this most recent election. They expected to win handily. They expected to take back the Senate. They expected to pick up quite a few seats in the House. None of those things happened. Donald Trump won, and he won with over 300 electoral votes. Wasn't that close in the electoral college. They did not win back the Senate, and they did win a couple of seats in the House, but the Republicans still have a pretty good handle on the House. So the Democrats, to me, they appear to be the Cleveland Browns of politics. And what do you do when you're the Cleveland Browns of politics? Well, you clean the house. You fire the head coach, the assistant coaches, the water boy, the towel boy, the dietitian, the strength coach, even the cheerleaders. You clean the house. But what do we see the Democrats doing? Well, they re-elect Pelosi as the minority leader. Why, I'm not sure. Under her leadership, they've been just absolutely devastated. So I just can't figure out what they're thinking. And they have an even bigger problem. And it's not with the Republicans or the alt-right or any of this kind of stuff. The big problem that they have, and one of the reasons that they lost, is that their party is really divided. And an even bigger problem, it's not just a few small things that can be easily worked out. And they're not really trying to work these things out. Like I said, it's like they're sticking their heads in the sand and just trying to pretend that, you know, that there's nothing really systemically wrong in their party. Almost like they think it's just going to kind of work itself out on its own. And 4 years from now, they're going to be back to being a, united party again. But it's not just this most recent election, it's the past 3 election cycles. They're getting their asses kicked. Republicans now control both houses of Congress. They have the White House. They have 2/3 of the governorships. They have almost 2/3 of the state houses. They're winning, and they're winning big in the last 3 election cycles. And the only reason that the Republicans lost to Obama twice is because they ran horrible candidates. So they've got a lot of problems, and I'll tell you the root of the worst thing that they're facing is that I was watching pretty closely the Bernie Sanders movement during the summer, and watching a lot of the protests at the DNC by the progressives after the primary was over. And it's pretty obvious that these progressives are anti-capitalist. You hear them talk about it all the time. You see their signs. They despise capitalism, and they are anti-capitalist. Now, the Democratic establishment knows this, and maybe that's why they don't want to deal with the issue. Maybe they don't want to they don't want to have this fight in front of God and everybody. They don't want to have to be seen debating this element of their party and debating capitalism versus socialism. But that's exactly the core problem that they have. These progressives are not just, like your typical 60s, 70s liberals who, are about, women's rights and civil rights and all this. Things that are, acceptable to the rest of the country, that they would be willing to have the debate and have the discussion. But when you're talking about a significant element of your party that is flat out anti-capitalist and despises capitalism, I don't know how you bridge that divide. And I imagine that's what's going on. The Democrats don't know how to deal with that either. Because you aren't going to win in the Rust Belt promoting an anti-capitalist message. You aren't going to win in the South promoting an anti-capitalist message. You aren't going to win in the center of the country with an anti-capitalist message. So it is a serious problem, and it's not just 10% or 15% of the Democratic Party that's this very far to the left progressive anti-capitalist type of thinking. Bernie Sanders won 22 contests. He got a little over 40% of the total vote. So it's a huge section of the Democratic Party. And if they do not figure this out, how to deal with this problem, and they won't figure it out based on what they're doing now, to solve their problem, they first have to admit that they have a problem, define what the problem is, and then come up with some solutions to begin solving that problem. They have stuck their head in the sand, almost like they're just hoping it will go away. It's not going to go away. It's like a bill collector. They'll never quit calling. Okay? So, the Democratic Party is in complete disarray. And I remember, this kind of reminds me of back when Nixon had to resign. That was dealt a serious blow to the Republicans. They had a rough time overcoming that. They got their asses kicked in the following 3 elections after Nixon had to resign. And they had to deal straight up with those issues. And they were finally able to come around and start winning again. But it wasn't until 1980 that happened. And they lost a lot of seats in the Congress, and they lost elections around the country at the state, local level as well. So they paid a pretty big price for that. But at least they pretty much understood what had happened to them, and they dealt with the issue. With the Democrats, like I say, it just doesn't seem that they are dealing with the issue or even admitting that they have the problem. And it's a serious problem. Anti-capitalism is not a winning message, because the alternative to that is some sort of a collectivist system, a Marxist system, a socialist system, a communist system, something. In America, if you look at where we've been going the last 3 or so election cycles, the country is a center-right country, and it's moving more in that direction. So yes, the Democrats face a major, major challenge. But until they're willing to actually understand what happened to them and try to deal with the situation. Now, I know exactly what they could do to try to recover and move forward and begin winning again. I'm not going to tell them because I'm not a Democratic supporter. Plus, I'm enjoying watching all this play out. But they're not really dealing with the problem, and it's not going away. It's going to still be there in the midterms. It's going to still be there in 4 years from now. And Nancy Pelosi and her friends in the establishment are not the solution. These people live in a bubble. They have no idea what's even happening to them. So it's pretty entertaining to watch as this all plays out. But it appears to me that unless they get some things figured out in a real hurry, they are not going to pick up seats in the midterm, which the party that's out of power typically does. And if Donald Trump is successful with his economic plans, and those Latinos and blacks who came out and voted for him in 2016, if they feel like he's done a good job for them, they'll come out in even larger numbers. And the Democrats cannot win elections without carrying a good percentage of the minority vote, particularly in the inner cities. So they are facing a major problem. Now, I don't believe that they will literally go the way of the Whigs and disappear. The Democratic Party is too connected, it's been around too long, and there's no other party on the left that's anywhere near able to challenge them. I mean, the Green Party, they didn't even get 1 million votes in the recent election, not even 1%. So the Democratic Party is probably not going to literally go the way of the Whigs, but figuratively speaking, they could be lost in the wilderness for 10 years if they don't get some things figured out pretty quickly. And if I were a betting man, I wouldn't bet a nickel on it. So that's just my thoughts. I appreciate you tuning into the video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Share it with your friends in social media, especially your progressive friends, because we just like tweaking them. So have a good day, and I'll see you next time. See ya.